Welcome to the Enterprise Web. This training will teach you the basics to be able to add content, edit, and maintain your MWR website. To begin working in your website, you'll log in with your URL. Your URL will be your garrisonname.armymwr.com/login. That takes you to a screen that looks like this, and you'll sign in with your username and your password. Click Login, and that takes us to the welcome screen. The welcome screen is home base for just about everything that you'll want to do in your enterprise website when you want to work. You're looking at a approvers screen, and on the left-hand side, you'll see a Waiting for Me panel. Well, this is for approvers. There are two kinds of accounts for Enterprise Web. There are authors and there are approvers. Authors can create any content on the Enterprise Web. They can add promos, events, they can edit facility pages, they can do almost anything. The one thing that they cannot do is to approve events and post them to live state. It takes an approver to do that, and we're looking at an approver screen. Approvers, if you have a lot of authors in your MWR who create content for you, you'll want to check your screen every day a couple of times, and what you might find are some lists of things like this. For instance, here's an item, Paint and Party. It's been submitted for approval, and if I click the item here, I'm an approver, I can look at that item that the person has submitted. I can deny it if it's not good and send it back for them to fix it. I can approve it, and when I approve it, that posts that item to go live. That happens for events. We're going to be talking more about other types of content as we progress through this training. The Quick Links panel is all about convenience, and you can do almost any task you want to from here. You can view the calendar and begin working in the calendar to be able to add events. Here's a quick link to be able to go directly to the Add Event template. You can add facilities and programs, create a page there. You can add a promo if you want. We'll talk about the difference between adding events and promos, and you can take a look at all of the promos on your site. In fact, let's take a look at all promos now. That's a kind of landing page where you can take a look at all the promos that you created for your website, all the ones that we have on this website. Let's go back to the welcome page. And the last thing that I want to show you in the quick links, and we're going to be exploring what all of these items do soon. But first, let's take a look at the help button. When we click the help button, this is your home base for all of your guides. If you have any questions about how to do anything, you're going to find it here under any topic. There are guides for just about every task that you want to do in the Enterprise Web, whether it's adding an event, a promo. If you need to manage your advertising, you'll find some information here. You'll also find a really good guide, which is called Avoid Common Mistakes. And this is a quick list of things, of do's and don'ts about how to create a good website copy, how to write in the website, because there are some certain formatting tricks that we use and some things that we do and we don't do. So before you get started, come back to this help section and please just give this Avoid Common Mistakes guide a quick read through. You can take a look at the support. The support is maybe helpful to you because this is how to find a member of our team. If you have any questions, if you need any support, have a question about how to do something, you want to make a suggestion, or if something is not working for you, you can send an email to this email address at support@mwr.zendesk.com. And that is our help desk, and it's monitored by members of our web team. And you can also contact a member of our team by giving us a call. You can send us an email, but really for emails, instead of bogging it down into somebody's inbox, send your emails here to support@mwr.zendesk.com. Bottom line is we're here to help you and we'll answer any question, and we're happy to walk you through any process. Now let's learn about the Dashboard tab. If you don't see the Dashboard panel open when you've logged in, no worries. All you have to do is put your cursor in this block that is in the upper right, the one with the lines and dots on it, and press your mouse and toggle it open and closed. And when we toggle it open, we'll notice that the panel reappears. This panel contains some important links. If you ever are elsewhere in your website and want to come back to this Welcome Back panel, you'll toggle open that Dashboard panel and click the Welcome link, and that will bring you back to this screen. Another important link is the sitemap, and this is the main sitemap for all of the content that is on your website. Let me make that a little bit bigger so you can see it. And what you'll notice is that in this top bar, it says training, and the folder is called Training 2. Well, that is the name of the Garrison website that I'm working on. And this is just a website that our administrative team uses for testing new features and also for training. So yours would be your Garrison name up here, and that would be the name of your folder. Well, this is a main folder that contains all of your pages. And if I double click that, you'll notice that we get some subfolders here. We have a folder for your categories, your promotions, and your program and facility pages. Let's click open the program and facility pages and see what's in there. Those are all the program and facility pages that I have loaded for this website. Community library, outdoor recreation, Java Cafe, they're all there captured in this main folder. I'm going to show you how to make that happen later on. All of the promotions, and those are the promotions that I showed you at the beginning of when we first started. Those were on that colorful screen that I showed you under all promos. Those are all the promotions. Let me go ahead and close that because we don't need it right now. But I want to show you something important, and that is the categories. Let's click that open, and it reveals all the categories for the Enterprise Web. Now, these categories are standard at all Enterprise websites, and so that we ask you not to change the names of the categories. Arts and crafts should always be arts and crafts. Auto should always be auto. And the reason for that is because we have service members and families that are going from one installation to another. And it's hard enough that they have to learn a new community, new roads, new schools, new everything. At least they don't have to learn a brand new website wherever they go. So arts and crafts, auto, we want these category names to always remain standard and the same. So don't change them. If you wanted to change the order, of course you could do that. If you wanted tickets to go up at the top, you can change the order. Just don't change the names. Now let me show you how the program and facility pages relate to the categories. And to do that, I want to switch over to a live website, which is at Fort Bragg. And I want to go to the programs and facilities page of the Fort Bragg website. I've done that by clicking the house, and it took us to this page. Here you'll see a listing of all of the program and facility pages that are lodged or attached to categories. Like the auto category has 3 facilities, and those are the East Bragg Auto Skills Center, Replex Auto Skills Center, and a resale lot. All right, so you can see that Fort Bragg's got a lot of facilities, and they're all attached to a category. Now you might be wondering too about this bar up here. What's this bar about? Because it does seem redundant. We have the categories here and then arts and crafts and auto. And you'll also see that we have the category listed up here too. Seems redundant. Well, almost, but not really. You have to remember that this website is intended to be viewed on a mobile phone screen or some small device like even a tablet. And it's going to have to reformat itself. Now I want to take you over to the Fort Bragg homepage, and I want to show you what happens with that category link and why it's so important. Let's go over to this homepage on Fort Bragg, and you'll notice that this area up here, it always stays the same because it's part of the template. Social and dining, recreation, those are our category links. And these are, by the way, landing pages. So if we wanted to take a look at the auto, let me just do a quick segue. Let's take a look at the auto category landing page. And you'll see that we have a landing page here, category auto at the top, and you'll see that East Bragg Auto Skills Center, the Replex Auto Skills Center, and the resale lot are listed here. Let me show you why that's important. Let me go back to the home page, get that view up. Now what I'm going to do is click over here in the right of my screen window, and I'm going to click and drag the screen in so it emulates what somebody would be seeing if they were looking at this web page on a mobile phone screen. This is a really handy trick for you when you're creating your content too. And you'll notice that the entire structure of the website has changed into a narrow vertical format. What's great about a responsive behavior is that the text always remains a readable size, and you'll notice that the pictures are ratioing down properly. They're not squishing and elongating themselves and sort of going out of proportion. But what you'll notice up here too is that blue bar disappeared. Well, where did it go? Well, here's what's great about this is you can imagine if somebody is clicking away on a small phone screen and they're tapping away with their fat fingers, they need to be able to get to pages. How do they get to pages? Well, they can click the blue bar here, and that's where our categories are. So this would be a very easy way for them to be able to punch the screen and get to the Auto Skills Center listings, and that's why that works that way, and that's why that category links bar exists. So just a little bit of knowledge. Good to know. Now you can also change the order of the way these items appear here. For instance, if you wanted to not show your arts and crafts facility here, say if you didn't have an arts and crafts, then you can turn it off. We have a user guide to be able to allow you to manipulate the order of these items or to turn some of them off if you want. So check the help section. There's a user guide about managing the blue category bar. All right, so we did a little bit of a side trip down the path of categories. Let's get back to the sitemap. All right, so I think that we've talked about sitemap enough. I believe that there's one other thing that I want to show you too on this, and that is now in the main sitemap, it's very powerful. There's a lot you can do. If you left click on any of the item titles, you'll notice that you have a drop-down list where you can do things. You can visit the page, you can check the SEO, you can check all kinds of things. The back-end settings are under attributes. You can add a page, delete a page, be careful of that. You can do different things. You can check the versions of the page. Very handy stuff there. So that's the main sitemap. It's very powerful and it's very detailed. The next link we want to talk about is files, and this is the file manager. The file manager is a series of folders, and there's a folder for each garrison, and that's where you'll be storing all of your PDFs that you'll use as linked documents in your content and the images that you'll be using to decorate your pages. I'm going to be showing you how to navigate around this area, how to upload images, and how to manage them. But first, I want to show you one wonderful file folder here called Shared Files. Let's open that file, and you'll notice that there are images in here, lots of images actually. Over the years, our approvers and authors have added images to the shared file folder. And if you're looking for an image for any of your pages, then chances are you'll find one here that's going to suit you just fine. So take a look here. If you're looking for a particular image, you can find it in the search. So for instance, if we're looking for a picture like maybe a water park, A-T-E-R-P-A-R-K, you can type a simple word in the search and either hit enter or click search. And you'll see that anything with the word water park in either the title or the keywords, and I'm going to show you how to add keywords, is going to be filtered out, and you'll be able to take a look at the thumbnails of those images that are loaded there. Now the thumbnails are pretty small, so I want to show you a trick. Now look down at your keyboard on your PC and look at your keyboard and imagine if you were holding down the control key. If you were holding down the control key and then you press the plus symbol a couple of times, this is what would happen. Now look back up at your screen and you can see that's how you make your screen enlarge. And so that's a handy trick for being able to make those little tiny icons a little bit more visible. Because sometimes people complain that those icons are so small, but if they were any larger, then that would be less to list on a page at any given time. So we have to keep them small. But say that we want to take a look at this Knox Water Park Pooch. He looks like a good choice for a page that I'm going to do. So let me take a look at this, and I'm going to left click, or right click rather, on that item. And here, when we right click on any item, I get a list of options that I can learn a little bit more about that image. I could view the item, which we're going to do in a moment. I could download the item if I wanted to. I could check the properties of this. Now, properties is really interesting, and I want to show you properties because properties is going to show us the size of this image. Size is very important because for the image standard for Enterprise Web is that the width of our images is going to be 750 pixels wide by 421 pixels tall. So 750 wide by 421 pixels tall. That's our image standard at 72 dpi. And if you keep within that ratio, then the images will load quickly on your website pages, and they will also ratio up and down when they're viewed on small mobile screens. So that 750 wide by 421 tall is very important at 72 dpi. right? So check those properties before you select an image. All right, let me X out of there by clicking the X. And I want to take a look at this image now. So let's take a look at the image. Now, there's something that I want to show you about the shared files is that, let me view the image. And it looks like one that I'd like to use for this page that I'm going to start working on. So the thing about the shared files that I want to tell you about is that it's great to leave these images in the shared files, but what you will want to do is take this image and load it into your own Garrison folder. Because imagine this scenario. Imagine if somebody wanted to edit this image in any way, say that they wanted to add a heading here or cut the image in some way. If they wanted to manipulate the image and they saved it to the shared file folder and you were using that image that you had that you had added from the page that you were working on, if you had linked it directly from the shared file folder, when that image changed, it would also change on your page too. So what I want to show you right now is how to make that not happen. What we want to do is now take this image and we want to put it in our own Garrison file folder. So I could click download here in this button down here. Oh, which I just cut off. There, you can see it right there. But that's the hard way to do it. Now this works the same way on a PC or a Mac. Or I can just simply click and drag this image over to my desktop. Now I'm going to grab with my mouse, I'm going to press the mouse, click and drag that image over to my desktop. You can see over in the blue area on the right, and I'm going to let go of my mouse and you can see that that image has loaded. Now I'll click the X because I don't need that anymore. All right, and go back to the shared file folder. So now you can see that I've copied this image and the image itself is copied in the resolution that I need, the 750 by 421, no problem there. Now I think what I'll do is I just think I'll rename the image. So I think I'm just going to call the image dog, all right, D-O-G, and I'm going to keep the .jpg, the file extension. So, all right, now this is how we make our image our own. Now we want to jump to our own Garrison folder and add that image to our own Garrison folder. We're learning how to use the file manager. You see this, jump to folder? Well, this is how we jump to our folder. Now we're going to click this link here in the right underneath the search. We're going to click that. And you'll see a panel opens up called Jump to Folder. And this is where you'll be able to find your own Garrison folder. Let me scroll down a little bit and I have a folder that I use for training, and let me click open that one. I'm just going to locate my folder, double click it, and you can see that all of my images are in this folder. Now, where am I exactly? I always tell people look up and look left because you'll see there's the breadcrumb here in the upper left. File Manager is the main folder, and now I'm in my Garrison Training for New Users. That's the name of my folder. All right, now I can upload this image from my desktop into my own folder, the Training for New Users folder. How do we do that? Well, if you've been around websites before, this is going to look very familiar to you. Click Upload Files, and that gives you a panel. All we have to do is click and drag that image over and into. It turns green, and the image was small, and it loaded almost immediately. When that green bar loaded, this image has already loaded into the file manager in my folder. So now what I want to do is edit properties and sets. And by the way, this works the same with PDF files. Edit properties and sets. And now I need to add a description and my tags. These are tremendously important, description and tags, and you should not shortcut and avoid doing this. In the description, I'm going to say training is my folder, training, T-I-N-G, training dog at the water park. And that's the name of my image. You can do whatever you want. You'll probably want to come up with some sort of a naming convention for your own office about how you want to name images. And the tags, of course, would be any tag or any kind of a word that somebody might search for if they were looking for an image of a dog at a water park. Dog, water, park, swimming, and so on. So you can add as many tags as you want to. Anyway, those two keys, the description and the tags, they really go a long way to being able to help you find that image several years down the line after you're gone. The next person who comes after you will have a really well-defined properties and good information in being able to locate those images. All right, so once you've filled in all that, all we have to do is click the X, and that takes us out of that panel, and let's see if that dog loaded. Yes, he did. All right, and so that is how we work within the file manager, and that's just basically it. It's very simple to do. And next, we're going to move on to another section. Now, we don't need to talk about everything in the dashboard panel, so we'll skip over members, but we want to make a quick mention of reports. You can create forms and questionnaires on your site, like this sponsorship at Kaiserslautern, and depending on the type of form or questionnaire you create, the data that people submit will be captured in the reports section. The Stacks and Blocks link is important, something that you should know about. Stacks and blocks are for areas of your website that contain standard information that doesn't change very often. So let's take a look at an example at Fort Bragg. On the home page, let's scroll all the way down past all the current event information and the promos. That's information that does change often, down to some standard content, which is an example of stacks and blocks, and that's in the footer area. So we have footers, footer number 1, number 2, and number 3. Numbers 1 and 3 are controlled by MCOM, but footer block number 2 is an example of a stack and a block that is controlled by you. So you can see that Fort Bragg has My Community, and in this footer block area, they've got their phone directory, their pocket guide, some other information that is just specific to their garrison. Another example of a stack and a block that's unique to this garrison are their social media links down here in the bottom. So let's go back to our welcome screen and let's take a look at how to work with a stack and block. Let's click the link, stack and block. And Fort Bragg is a US-based garrison, so let's click the US folder. And we'll scroll down and we'll find the Fort Bragg folder. We'll click that one open. I'm double clicking. And you can see here's the footer block number 2 and the social links and another footer link. Let's click open the footer block number 2. And you can see that those 9 links in that footer block appear here. Now we'll be talking about how to edit content later, but notice what happens when I swing my cursor into the content block area. You'll notice a green line appears, and if I click once, then that enables me to edit that block. And from there, you'd be able to add links, you could change the URLs, you could do a lot of things here. So you can do your editing in this area. So that's a good thing to know about with stacks and blocks. You should know it from the get-go. You may not be using that right away, but it's good to know about right now. Now let's go back to the welcome screen. To get back to the welcome screen, all we have to do is click up here to the word welcome, and that's our link that takes us back to the welcome screen. The last thing we'll cover in the dashboard panel is the calendar and events link. This link, Calendar and Events, does the same thing that the View Calendar link does here in the Quick Links panel. When you click the Calendar and Events link, it'll take you to the calendar view where you can edit events, manage, and create new ones. So that's all we need to talk about with the dashboard panel. Now let's explore this new tab with the double page icon. This is the page navigation tool. When we pop that panel open, you'll notice you can do a lot of new things here. You can add new pages. You can add a new promo or a new program and facility page. So I think of this panel as all about convenience. You'll also notice that there's a section here for page drafts. When authors create new content and they save it or click the publish button, if it is an edit to a facilities and program page, or if it's an edit to a promo, or even creating a new promo, it will end up as a page draft. And this is where approvers will check that page and approve it and publish it to live state. All right, down here we have a sitemap. And you can see that we have a sitemap. Let me make the screen a little bit bigger for you to see. You can see that we have a sitemap that looks like the one that we saw when we first started. And if we click that open, you'll notice that there's a panel that, or rather the folders open up to reveal all the pages that are on our site. Now I call this section Sitemap Lite. When we click on any of the folders, for instance, the Programs folder, then that, of course, drops down to reveal all the pages or facility and program pages that are available on this site. Now, if I click one, then you won't get the drop-down panel with all the functions here, but what this is just for convenience. And if I click this, it will take me to the page. So that's the facility and program page for the Java Cafe. All right, let's go back to the page navigation tool. See, all we have to do is just push the button and it toggles the panel open. I'll make that a little bit bigger so we can see it. Now this gives us a good opportunity right now, since we're in this page navigation panel, to be able to explore how to use the editing tools, to be able to edit, add new content, and to check the attributes of pages. When we opened up this panel, I know you were looking over here on the right, but you may not have noticed that over here in the upper left, we see some new tools be exposed. So we see here is one, the one on the left has a picture of a little pen or a pencil on it. That is the tool that we use for editing any existing content on a page. The gear tool, let me pop that open right now, gives us the attributes of the page or the page settings. There are different things that you can do here. For instance, I can see the settings that I checked for this page, that I want this page to appear on the social and dining. This is the Java Cafe. So you can see some things here. You can also check the attributes tab. This is a pretty deep area, so we're not going to spend much time talking about this right now. But from the attributes panel, or that link, you can also add keywords and do lots of other things with this page. So that is worth just exploring on your own. You can create a new page, come back into this gear tab, and just click on a lot of these links and just see what they do. You don't have to publish it. You can just save it as a draft and just experiment and play. This tool is interesting, the one with the plus symbol, because when we click it, this is the tool that we use to be able to add any content to a page. And you'll notice that a new panel is sliding open with some fun-looking blocks, and all of these different blocks, like there's one for adding content, one for adding an image. There's lots of things that you can do and have fun with here. You can also add Flickr galleries and YouTube videos, all kinds of things from here. So I think you'll have a lot of fun with that one. But the plus symbol is how we add new content to a page. All right, so this gives us a good opportunity, since we're in page drafts and we have a draft here, to go back to this page navigation icon, pop that panel back open, and let's take a look at this Arts and Crafts Center draft that I've started. We'll click it once and let that page open. Now, what's nice about the enterprise web is there is always going to be some sort of a message that's going to tell you whether you're published or unpublished, what the version is, and the status of the page. And I'm seeing here that this is an unpublished draft. I'm just going to unclick that. If you unclick this, it's just a notification. Just let's just click the X and get rid of that panel, because it's just a little distracting. All right, so now that that's out of the way, what we can do, you can see that this is a page draft that I've started and I haven't finished yet. This gives us an opportunity to be able to play around with some of these icons in the upper left. And let's do some editing on the content that I've got, just to familiarize ourselves with what these icons do. So if I click the pencil icon or the pen, whichever way you look at it, it's going to turn green. And green means go and green means edit in the enterprise web. As long as something is green, it means that you can do something to the page. So now when I'm in edit mode for content that's already on the page, I can swing my cursor in and notice that the content block that I'm swinging my cursor into has turned green. This is a content block on its own, and up here, this Arts and Crafts Center is the title of the page. When I created this page, and we're going to be doing that later, is in the title of the page. So it's something that is created when you start to build a page. But here, this is a content block that I added when I started to create this page. And here I can edit my content. I'm going to click once to this existing block, and you'll notice that I get a list of things that I could do. I could delete this block if I wanted to. I could check the permissions. I can do a lot of things, but what I want to do to show you how to work with it is just to edit the block right now. So let's click the word edit block. I'm just clicking it once. And what's great here is that you've seen this kind of a thing in Word before. All of these tools should look familiar to you. Let's take a bigger look at them. And you can see that we've got one for adding an image, adding a table. You can make things flush left, flush right, centered, but in website content, we always go flush left, because remember, this is a website that's going to be viewed on mobile screens and tablets. So we like to stay with that flush left, just to make sure that the text will always align itself properly, depending on what view you're using. If somebody's using a smartphone, then of course things are going to look a lot different from what we're looking at now. So let's take a look at this heading right here, because I feel like it looks awfully large. This heading, I can turn it into, it's a heading 1. And I think for me, headings always look best when they're in heading number 4, because I feel like it matches the body copy well. If I want to turn this into, I saved it as a draft. If I wanted to kick off a paragraph with what looks like a heading, if I couldn't think of a nice heading that was meaningful, I can always click the bold and kick off a paragraph that way. And it looks pretty nice. All right, so that is how we use the editing content. Now, let's go ahead and save this content block. Anytime you've finished adding content or editing content in a block or adding content, we always want to save it. This will not save the page, it will save the content block. So this is a really important step. Let's click Save. And look up here, we get another nice reminder message and it says, okay, you did good. This block has been saved successfully. Well, that's nice. All right, so that's just a reminder. I can unclick it and get rid of that. If it annoys you, just get rid of it. All right, now let's try and add a new content block. And how do we do that? Yep, you got it, the plus symbol. Let's click the plus symbol and let that panel slide open. Now let's try and add an image. Let's click the image and we'll slide this block over and we'll just slide it into the place where we want it to be. You do the same thing with a content block or any of the other blocks. You probably noticed that the green line thickened, and when it thickened, that meant that that content block was ready to just drop into place. So I just let go of the mouse. Now when you add an image, then we get the option to be able to choose an image, and this will take us to the file manager. Remember the file manager? Sure you do. Now this takes us back to the same place I was when I was working in the website before. So I'm going to jump to my file folder. Remember, I could choose shared files if I found my training guides, or rather another folder that I wanted down here. I could just go ahead and select the folder, but I'm not finding what I want. So I'm going to click Jump to Folder. And I'm going to go down, and if you remember from the file manager, I was storing things in my training for new users. Yeah. That's the folder I want. All right. Remember that dog picture we loaded? Well, I can click it and you can see it just loads automatically. There's the thumbnail. And if I like him, I can click Add. All right. So that's how we add content to a page. All right. Now that we've done that, anytime you've added or done something to a page and you're finished with it, you can go back up here. You'll notice we're still in editing mode. Watch what happens when I click the pencil icon. Once, now we get a new panel that's open because the system knows you have done some editing to a page. And so now it wants to know, do we want to publish the page, save the changes, or do we just not even want the page at all? Now, if your authors are creating content on pages, they'll have the opportunity to be able to publish the page or save the changes. For authors, it's always going to save as a draft. If you are an approver and you publish the page, it's going to go live immediately. In this case, I just want to save this as a draft. So let's just save the changes. All right. And we get that notice. It's an unpublished draft. Well, thank you for reminding me. And let's go back to the panel and we'll see that that Arts and Crafts Center draft is still there. So that's how we use the page navigation tool, and also how we're able to do a little bit of editing. Now we'll move on to creating some other things in the web. We'll be going back to the dashboard panel. To get back there, I want to go back to the welcome screen, and I click Welcome.